I used to box. Don't be scared. Don't pull back. I'm retired, okay? I had to after I killed that kid. All right, everybody's mad. Listen, it was baby Hitler. I know what you're thinking. If she killed baby Hitler, why'd all that stuff still happen? I don't know. There must have been two of them. Could have been a lot worse.
We're going to ask all of our guests this at the end. How would you like to die? Less than a minute left. Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Cantrell, and we're really excited to get this thing started. Our podcast focuses on a person's life up to now. We see where they began, what they've done, and where they'd like to go, and also how they'd like to go. Joining me is my co-host, Jamie McCacken. How are you, Jamie?
I'm good, Charlie. How are you?
Doing good. So for this episode, we've got a great guest. They are a very talented New York City stand-up comedian. Please welcome Clare Donaher, everybody. How are you, Clare?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm good. How are you two doing?
Doing good.
If I scream, does that mess up the levels on the podcast? Am I allowed to yell? I'm just so excited.
You can yell.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Happy to have you.
Thank you. And Clare, I met you doing stand-up in New York. You're super talented stand-up comic, very funny. Everyone should go check out her Instagram channel. It's very impressive. You're not from New York. Could you talk a little bit about where you grew up and if there was a big comedy scene over there?
Totally. I'm from outside of Philadelphia, but I didn't start comedy until I went to college in Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh. I forget what our thing is. Panthers? Something. But so I started my freshman year there. I guess in high school I did improv. We had improv teams based off of the show Whose Line Is It Anyway? So I got to do a lot of that, pretty young, 13. I was like, I'm ready to get into improv comedy. And then in Pittsburgh is where I got into stand-up and sketch writing and more improv and all of the above. I was like, anything I can do. I was really obsessive about it.
What kind of woke you up to comedy, especially when you were younger? You said you started around 13, right, doing improv.
Yes.
Who were your influences? What made you want to pursue comedy?
Yeah, so I've been listening to stand-up and watching improv since I was really little because my dad loves comedy. He's a ham. He loves joking around and he loves listening to comedy. So he would always put on the Pandora comedy hits or play us albums of people in the car, or watching Jim Gaffigan's special was a huge thing for me when I was younger. So loved that. I always loved growing up Mike Birbiglia, Nate Bargatze. And then as I've gotten older, I remember I would always watch the Jake and Amir videos in middle school and high school. Loved those. And then Bo Burnham, huge one for me. I did a project on him for a class. We had to pick a topic or something, and I picked comedy. So I did sort of a shortened stand-up comedy set where I just did little jokes throughout the presentation, and oh my, such a high. That's probably one of the my actual first stand-up experience. But yeah, I would say. And then nowadays I'm Chris Fleming all the way. What a star. What a star that guy is.
What was the stand-up presentation like? What was that? Were you doing stand-up?
Yeah, kind of. I think I was too shy to be I'm doing stand-up now. So it was I would present on stand-up comedians that I admired and some of the history of it and the techniques. And then I just would slide little jokes in throughout it. But it would be I was too shy to be and this is a funny presentation, so I would pretend I was just doing them off the cuff, or whatever. But I had really just written, I was this is going to be formatted like a stand-up set. So I don't remember anything I said. I just remember there were a lot of pictures of Bo Burnham on there. I was I love that guy.
Did you, even in that, you said you were shy, but even in that experience, did you feel you had a taste of this performing stand-up comedy, performing live? You had kind of a captive audience with the other kids in your class.
Totally.
Was that, you got the bug then?
Yeah, I've always been like a ham for attention. I remember in ballet class getting into trouble and getting held back actually because I would fool around too much and just want to make the other kids laugh. Like I've just always been about getting the laugh. I definitely get that from my dad. We both sometimes don't know when to stop. It's like I just want everyone around me to giggle right now. Please, please, please.
That's funny. I didn't know you could get held back from ballet class.
Yes, it was traumatizing. It was like me and my friend Anna, who I knew since I was like 2, and she ended up joining like the New York Conservatory of Dance. It was
Oh, wow.
like she became really successful in it. And I trace it all back to where our paths divided when I got held back and she got to move forward, and I quit very soon after that, and she kept going and became like a professional. It's like that's crazy.
Oh,
But,
that's so funny. Yeah.
I was never that good at it.
Your heart wasn't in it. It was in comedy.
Exactly. I was like, I live to entertain.
Yeah.
What were your parents' opinion? I know your dad. You said your dad was really into comedy. What was like your mom's opinion?
Yeah, my mom is so supportive of everything I do. My mom's a writer, so she gets like sort of the artistic side of it and wanting to, like put something creative out into the world. They come to all my shows. My first stand-up show in Pittsburgh. This is a crazy story. So I had my first stand-up show in Pittsburgh, and I didn't want my parents to come see. They lived in Philly. I was in Pittsburgh. It's a 6-hour drive. So I was like, yeah, I'm just doing this show, but it's not a big deal. I don't want you guys to come until I'm better. And they were like, totally fine. Unbeknownst to me, my mom drives 6 hours up without telling me, goes to Rite Aid, and has an in with the cashier where she's like, I'm going to see my daughter do stand up, but I don't want her to know I'm there. Like, I need a disguise. She gets like a hat and sunglasses. She goes to the show, stands in the back. I never know she's there. And then 6 months after that, she comes to me like, tears welling in her eyes, and she's like, I have to come clean to you about something. Like, I came to your show. I was like, you're insane and I'm obsessed with you. What an insane thing to do.
That's
so
crazy.
sweet.
She's the best, but she is bonkers, and that's why I love her.
Do you feel like your parents' dynamic or like that, willingness to commit to the bit helped you develop your comedy taste?
Yeah, I get the love of telling jokes through my dad, but I get a lot of earnestness from my mom. Like, I feel like a lot of the things I like to talk about on stage, while they're like under the guise of being very jokey and funny, they're so like, I really like being very honest and very like like trying to talk about how much I love my life and my friends and how happy I am and how like I don't know, just trying to weave some authenticity throughout it, which I feel like I get from my mom because she is just wears her heart on her sleeve in a really sweet way. Because they both inspired me a lot. My parents switched careers very late in life. Like my dad was an engineer and then a doctor and then like switched around specialties all the time. And my mom was a nun and then left the convent and became a school teacher. So they're both very like, do what you want, follow your heart. Like life may have crazy plans for you. So they're really awesome in that way.
What was your mom like as a nun?
Oh, God, I wish I wasn't there yet, if you can imagine. She actually wrote a book about it, which is really cool. So it was really interesting to read that. But she was a nun while she was like, I think 19 to 25. So like a year before I am now, I'm like, my mom was just getting out of the convent. It's crazy to think about. But yeah, she just felt called to be elsewhere. And I don't know, it's really an interesting read because, how many people do you know that left the convent?
For sure.
Yeah. Wow, I can't even imagine that experience. But yeah, it sounds like a really fun story. I'll have to look into it.
I feel like, and usually it's like because someone falls in love or something, but my mom's was very much just like, I know I'm not supposed to be here. But I have an aunt that's still a nun. Shout out. Love you down, Diva. And I have a cousin who's a priest. Shout out to him as well. We basically have a like parish it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a lot of that.
Yeah, it's funny. Both my parents, I was not raised Catholic, but both my parents were raised Catholic. Very pious parent. My dad's one of 10 kids.
My dad's one of 7 and my mom's one of 13.
Oh
so
my
I
gosh.
get big families. So like, yeah.
Yeah, and we had a
But
priest
sorry, go
in
on,
the family. No. So we had a priest in the family that everyone just referred to as Father Mac, like back in like a great uncle or something.
So do you think Pennsylvania itself as a state has influenced your style of comedy, would you say?
You know what? Weirdly, no. I wish I could say yes, because sometimes I love telling people like I'm from Philly, even though I'm like kind of from outside Philly. Like my parents are, and the rest of my family are very from in Philly, Philly. I love the craziness of it. I love the reputation of it. But I grew up in Maryland for 10 years of my life, so I was like Philly, then Maryland, then back to outside of Philly. And so I feel like I never really felt super tied to any place. Like, yeah, I wish I had a cooler answer. Like, I guess being close to an urban area probably did, being in the suburbs probably did. I grew up around a lot of rich kids, and I feel like that kind of influenced me because I felt like I feel like weirder than I was, and like I was having this completely different like situation just because these kids were like beyond rich, but it's like I feel like I actually realistically I had a pretty normal upbringing. At my school, I feel like everybody acted like everything I said was insane and crazy. And like, I don't get me wrong, I'm a weird kid, but I also feel like too, like I had it in my head that I was like, oh my God, all these kids are so rich. I must be so poor. And it's like, no, you're not, girl. Your dad's a doctor. Like,
Yeah.
relax.
When you mentioned Bo Burnham as a big influence when you were growing up, how much did like the internet and like help you develop your style with comedy? Were you like watching a lot of comedy online and like internet comedians?
Definitely a lot of that. It was weird because my family was very much like kind of limiting the amount of screen time we had up until a point. But I feel like in high school was like when I had more freedom to go online and everything. And I was, like I said, like watching the Jake and Amir videos, huge for me. Love them so much. And then listening to just a lot of classic stand-ups on Pandora. And then I think like I'm trying to think of any YouTubers or anything. I feel like I would watch whatever was on, like anybody just streaming video games or anything too, which I'm like, I don't even know. Maybe that influenced my
Yeah.
I feel like I could just feel my brain kind of rotting just watching someone play 14 hours of like a video game that I've never heard of. But
I do feel like comedians that are in our 20s, YouTube has had just a big impact because it used to just be like The Tonight Show and that's it. That's all
yes,
people saw. And now it's like you can go on YouTube and just go down these rabbit holes, and it I feel like it's a little bit more liberating. In some ways it's more liberating because you can like, it's not just hey, and I love people that work for like broad, America and all that, but it's also you can go down very specific niches and develop like a stronger personal point of view, and it's like very enriching.
that's true. Yeah, I feel like I found that a lot from posting online. That felt very validating, like having anybody watch it and be like, "Oh, this is worth watching or liking or commenting or following." Because I feel like without that, like it's kind of hard to gauge like, "Oh, do I really have something that's worth like kind of putting out there?" But I don't know, but it's its own format in itself. Like it kind of reminds me of like when Vine got huge, and then we have a lot of comedians to this day that got their start on Vine that now do traditional stand up. And it's interesting because it's a totally different forum though. Like also you can see people that only have done like internet videos before that it's like a way quicker format, and the transition into stand up I feel like is sometimes way more difficult because you build up this like insane following from posting online, and then switching to stand up I feel like it's so hard to try and learn a new forum when everybody already knows you. Like I have a lot of, but some people are so incredible at it, it's like wow, you just are great at everything, that's awesome. But I have a lot of sympathy for that. Yeah,
Reminds me of like Bob Newhart when he started, and I found this out recently. He was doing radio, and he had never done stand up, and he had hit radio records, and they said you should do stand up, and he was like crushing it in radio, and I was like, oh, that is crazy to do well at radio and then go into stand up and to still be good after having never really been in a club. When you're doing it alone, it's a little bit easier than in a club. It's it's a challenging thing, and it's and there are people that can like do it alone by themselves in the room and then still go into a club and destroy,
which is so crazy. Yeah,
which is really hard. You told me when we were talking that you went to the University of Pennsylvania and you majored in engineering.
Sorry, University of
Oh,
Pittsburgh.
sorry. Pittsburgh.
In
Sorry.
Pennsylvania.
I was
No
close.
pen from me. Yeah, in Pennsylvania.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't-
You were so close. You hit it. You hit it. You got it on the board, just not the bullseye.
Okay, forgive me of my ignorance. I didn't know. But I'm learning something. There's two different colleges, but that wasn't even the question. Sorry. You majored in engineering. I know that.
Yes.
Has that helped you in comedy? Would you say?
Well, I do. I work as an engineer right now, and I love working as an engineer. I love that I can kind of have both. I find it like helps because I'm able to sort of live a really stable life doing something that I find intellectually fulfilling. So I still do it to this day. But I wouldn't say like it necessarily like everybody always asks me like if I talk about engineering on stage. Like some people at work know I do it and they're like, "Oh, like do you write about us?" And I'm like, "I don't think I'd ever do that." Like one, not to be corny, but like I do take it kind of seriously. So it's like this isn't funny for me. This is professional. And then two, I'm like I really like having them separate. Like I would never want to put my engineering career in jeopardy. And then also like I like kind of leaving their time to like leave work at work and then go on stage and have fun. But I do think maybe like analytically like you could make the argument that like I know a lot of engineers that do stand up. Like for some reason I think a lot of people that just like to think about stuff and analyze stuff are pretty drawn to stand up.
Yeah, like experimenting to see will this work, will this not work. It's like a math problem.
Totally.
That you have to bounce off a crowd.
So what made you decide to make the move to New York? Was it for your engineering or was it to try to do stand up in the New York scene? What did that journey look like for you?
Yeah, I always kind of wanted to move to New York, but I always thought of it as something that like that's what other people get to do. That's what like special people do. And I live in Pittsburgh and I have my job here. But I was really like after college, I feel like living in the same town that you went to college in feels pretty suffocating. Like I had really wonderful friends that I reconnected with like pretty soon before I left there that they all moved back to Pittsburgh right before I left. And we had a few months where it was just like so blissful, really wonderful. Cause I'd been struggling for a while to make friends because most of mine had moved away after college. And then I think I just really decided like, I want to actually take control over what my life looks like. And so I was like, New York or bust. Like, I have to get there. I'm applying to every single job opening for an engineer in New York. And for months, I just like really gunned it and I got a job and was able to move. And I think the reasoning behind it, I had started doing like stand up a little bit more consistently right before I moved. And I was like, it would be wonderful to do stand up in Pittsburgh. But I don't think it was the main force. I think I just really wanted to get out of there and to have some control over what I was doing with my life.
Yeah, you decided to take the plunge. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I always felt, at least my decision to move to New York, it's very much more, the nervous part is right before I move. Like it's hard to like, okay, when I'm in southeastern Virginia to like, okay, I'm going there, and to tell people I'm moving, they're always like, really? They're like, they were like, it's so dangerous in New York.
Yes.
And then you go here and you're like, oh, it was so much more dangerous back home. This is much safer.
Yes. People have this weird idea of New York. My mom was so nervous when I wanted to move here. She still gets so nervous, but now that like everybody's visited me a couple times up here, I think they have a more realistic view of it. But yeah, it's like I think I even thought it would be way scarier because people talk about New York as if there's like bears on the subway. Like it's crazy the way it's referenced. Like, and I've had like bad things happen to me in New York, but I don't know. I feel like that stuff can happen anywhere, and like the same, if not way more, amazing things have happened to me in New York. So I just think it's so worth it. Like I love this place.
Yeah, absolutely. My mom, when a couple first like year that I was living here, anytime any crime happened and that made its way into national news, not even national, I guess she was just monitoring New York City crime, she would text me and she'd be like, there was a stabbing on 32nd Street. Hopefully you're not anywhere near that. I'm like, Mom, I am in the hundreds on the west side. I'm okay. Like,
Yes.
we're all good. But she's
My
calmed
mom
down
does
now.
the same thing.
Yeah.
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 It's so sweet that they do that stuff.
Yeah.
My experience of moving to New York is like I tried to find a gym that was good, and then like my relatives, some of them live in the city. They were like, "You don't need to go to a gym. Don't go to a gym. That's a waste of money. Go to like a playground and work out." That's what they told me. They were like, "You need to like go to the playground to like on the monkey bars to do pull-ups, and that's how you."
You're gonna get like on a list somewhere.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
kids' parents love when you do that, when you're a 20-something man, single, alone. They love that.
Yeah, with my Bluetooth speaker playing
Yeah.
Eminem as I'm doing the pull-ups. What's your opinion on the New York comedy scene? Is it different than what you thought it would be?
Yeah, I mean, my only exposure to like a real stand-up scene was in Pittsburgh, where it was a way, like not a lot of people around my age were doing it. It was like mostly like older people than me, that like people with families, even like people that were really like settled in Pittsburgh. And there were some college kids that I went to school with too that were doing it, but that was pretty much it for my age. And there were way less mics and you had to drive to them. So it was like you could only do one or two a night. And I didn't have a car when I started doing it. So I would have to, hop on to my friends that showed me all the mics and everything. But here in New York, it's like you can do as many as you want. There's more of a community. Like I would say, maybe that's not fair. Maybe in Pittsburgh there is a community, but I just felt a little young for it. Like I didn't really feel like and I don't know, like just starting off in comedy too, I think maybe I just felt like a little bit like, oh, I don't know, like I'm just hanging out with like my college friends. I'm not really immersed in like the Pittsburgh stand-up scene. But in New York, it's like most of my friends I've met through comedy. And it's just like, I've never had a community like this. It's so wonderful. It feels like being in college again. There's a birthday party every weekend. Even if someone's not your best friend, you still like support them and are there to help them if like they need something, which I think that's what community is all about. Like even if like there's someone that I don't talk to every day, or like I just know them sort of like friend of a friend, like if they need help with something that I can help them with, like that's what I'm gonna do, because we're a community. Like we bring each other up.
Definitely. It's also strange. I was surprised with New York about how it's like after doing it for a few months, you kind of are, if you're doing the mics consistently, you end up meeting kind of everyone either once removed or something like that. Like
Yeah.
it's so easy to like, oh, I know this person through mutual people, and like eventually you start talking
Yes.
like, oh, I know like this person as well, and I'm just shocked at like how it's because like New York has like millions and millions of people, but like through the stand-up scene, it's like you end up kind of knowing everyone, which I find like
Totally.
bizarre, but like great. It's like very supportive, but I'm just like, wow. Do you think comedy has taught you anything about yourself?
Yes. There's so many things that I didn't like about myself that I was so afraid to talk about, even with like close friends and stuff. Like stupid stuff. I can't even really think of an example now, because comedy has kind of taught me like talk about it and own it. And that is like where I feel like some of the funniest stuff comes from. And then you're just allowed to be yourself. Like you're allowed to say what you think. And, sure, people might judge you for it, and that's fine. But for the most part, it's like really taught me to just like not be ashamed. And I feel like it was like a learning curve, because I also think in Pittsburgh, I don't feel like I got better at comedy until I moved to New York. Like it was so much faster in New York, and you get so many more reps in. And I just feel like it was such a, like when I started to get better at it, I was like, oh, sharing about myself and like being honest and vulnerable is like hilarious, and that makes it seem less serious and less sad, so I can talk about it.
Yeah, I noticed it was like when I first started comedy, I thought, oh, if you make up a bunch of stories, they'll kill, because you can just say something crazy, and then the audience just like they don't, crazy doesn't work, they want to hear kind of the truest parts of yourself, and then they can kind of tell like, okay, if you're changing a detail, they're like, that doesn't sound like you, and they want to know kind of the real self in some ways.
That's interesting. Like you need a credibility, and if you just keep, making up crazy stories or having craziness, you lose that credibility as a person and that authenticity. Yeah.
That's what I feel.
Totally. I also feel like they can tell, like, just like when you're talking about something and it's not true, no matter how good of an actor you are, like, unless like sometimes you can punch stuff up, or like
Sure.
if it makes the story just like kind of quicker and more like tied with a bow, I think those things are fine. But for the meat of it, I think it really has to come from real experiences, or else it's like you're just a liar and the audience can tell.
You're talking about like having these, these true parts of yourself, like being authentic and being transparent and talking about the real stuff. As a female comic who's on the internet, something that I always saw whenever I would get a female comedian on my YouTube shorts or my Reels algorithm, half of the comments would be men being like, women are only they're only talking about sex. Like it's only fun. It's not actually funny. And I was just curious about, like, as someone who's in the trenches with that kind of, getting sometimes maybe that kind of feedback. What are your thoughts on that? Like would you want to tell them, or do you even acknowledge them? Are they even worthwhile of acknowledging?
Totally. I will say, like, for some reason, I feel like I've been very lucky where the majority of the guys in my comments and DMs are honestly just really kind. Like, I don't know what I did to deserve it, but like truly they're just like, you're so funny and your eyes are beautiful. And like nothing about like every once in a while I'll get something pervy, but like I really love that, like, the guys that have been into my stuff have been very well behaved, and I'd love them to keep that up. But every once in a while I do get something like crazy and the typical, like, female comedians are only funny when they talk about sex, or like they only can talk about sex. And I do like I do quite a few jokes about sex, and it's always been like a thing that I've been like, oh, I wish I talked about it less or whatever, but I just find it so funny. Like, it's a funny concept, and there's so many ways to play with it, and I never think of it actually being about sex. Like, in my head it's like sort of like a cartoon, like, censored thing where I'm just like being raunchy, but it doesn't actually mean anything. But whenever I get stuff like that, I do remember I got one that, like, a couple that were really upsetting me because I posted a video where I was like doing stand up, and it was a clip of me talking about how I'm like, oh, you can jack off to anything. I jack off to the idea of my parents living forever. And the comments were like, you are sick in the head. You are perverted and you should be put down like a dog. And I was so scared because there was a part of me that was like, oh my God, is there something wrong with me that I don't see anything wrong with me saying that? Like, I just think it's funny and silly. And I ended up like calling my parents crying and being like, guys, I don't know if you've seen this video, but like, I don't know, is this like really awful to say? And my mom and my dad were both like, that is so funny, girl. Fuck the haters. And my mom like was trying to figure out how to comment back and respond. And I was like, no, you're gonna make it worse. Like, but that's why I'm so lucky to have them. And just like, they're sort of, I think, my baseline and my temperature test, where I'm like, as long as my parents are okay with the things I'm saying, they're the only people I have to answer to. Like, as long as my parents are proud of me, I feel like I'm doing fine. And I'm very lucky to have parents that are very open-minded.
That's so sweet. I love that. And also, like, I feel like you're kind of playing with like these funny taboo things, like with raunchiness of like I like that. It's like cartoonish, and it's hilarious that people get so like bent out of shape about just like a silly video online of someone just talking about something instead
it's
of
wild to me. Yeah, and like, not to get too TMI, but I'm not really someone that like dates a lot. To me, it really is sort of just like this funny like thing that's like not like it's not really like a real thing that I'm like I feel like my character about it is like, wouldn't it be funny if this is how I thought about sex, because it's so removed from like my actual experience with it. It's about context, and some people interpret jokes differently, so I just let them. And I find, as I said, like, truly, as long as my parents aren't upset, like, I'm not offended really by anybody's comments.
Yeah, it's also kind of weird because it's like, what is good joke or bad joke as far as it's all context, and there's no, I don't know if there's always a clear-cut line for stuff. And I find it, the people that would criticize comedians, I've had people jokes that I thought were just fine, And I was like, okay, if that offended them, there's like they've got a lot of other issues going on in life. Like if I freak them out with that, they can't handle just life itself.
Totally. And it's also too, it's all subjective. I try to remember where it's like, I mean, obviously I tried to, be introspective. Like there's certain jokes that I've posted where I've been worried that they'd be misconstrued or the message would be taken incorrectly. Like, especially if I'm talking about like gay stuff or sex or women's rights or even like anything political. And I don't want to be misunderstood in any way. And I'm worried that like something I'm posting as satire is going to be taken seriously. But I found that like people are pretty good. Like you have to trust that your audience is going to be intelligent enough to understand what you're trying to say. And if they don't, then like hope that maybe the other comments sort of point them in the right direction. And then if everybody's misunderstanding it, that if that ever happened, I would reflect and I would be like, okay, clearly I've got to do a reality check with myself, but hasn't happened yet.
I mean, it's like all those things are what make up who we are as humans. It's like sex and politics and religion. If you can't joke about that, then like I feel like, you have to be able to.
Yeah, and I feel like it connects people more than it divides them. Like being able to joke about it and sort of seeing the frivolity in everything. I feel like there's certain things I feel like we can all see eye to eye on. Like some things are just silly.
So you talk a little bit about, your like a persona on stage. Is that a reflection of like maybe like a plus up or an exaggeration of your own real life character, your own persona, or is, tell us a little bit about how you developed that. And
Definitely. I feel like, and Charlie, I'm sure you understand this too, but like finding your voice in stand up is so hard. Like, even if I feel like I did so many other forms of comedy before, but just going up and doing stand up, it was so hard to be like, wait, what do I talk like? Like, what's sort of, I don't know how I tell a joke. Like, I don't know how to even like use my voice in that way. So I feel like, it took me a long time to find out how to just sort of talk like me, but in a performance sense. So when I am on stage, I feel like that's how I talk when I'm joking around with my friends is like, I think the best way to describe it. And so I feel like people tell me a lot of things that I do on stage that I really don't realize I'm doing at all. Like, which is so nice that people pick up on it and notice it. But I'm like, I did not realize that's a thing. Like, I remember one of my first sets in New York, someone was like, oh, wow, you're basically reading an audiobook up there with the amount of voices you're doing. And I'm like, I'm doing voices? Like, it didn't process to me that I'm like doing funny voices at any point. I'm like, I thought that was just kind of my regular voice. But apparently that's something I do. Apparently I like bounce a lot and like I'm always like making faces, but it's not really something that's super conscious. Like it should kind of just be like what comes naturally to you, but just turned up.
Yeah, I also experienced it where it's like whenever I would try something that wasn't really myself, the audience would correct me. I did one. I started stand up at 17 in high school, and it was like I was doing something where I was talking about how I did something wrong, and like it's like a dirtbags at a bar in Virginia, and they were laughing at all these other comics just like talking about them doing horrendous stuff, and then I was like, yeah, I did a naughty thing one time, and then they like went up to me and lectured me afterwards. It's like, young man, you need to take control of your life. You're a good person. And it was like they were just drunks on a Tuesday night. And I was like, okay, thanks, goodbye. And I waited for my mom to pick me up to drive me back.
That's so funny.
So I've noticed it was like whenever I tried to be cooler than I actually am, the audience will say, no, no, no.
Yeah. I also feel like when I'm trying to be cool or when I'm trying to be pretty, I'm not funny. Like whenever I'm worried about like being attractive to someone or even just like seeming cool or whatever, I lose like whatever I find makes my jokes work. Like I don't know. I feel like it's such a female thing to like try to like be pretty in your comedy and like, like not make too ugly faces and like, like hold your body the right way, have good posture. And it's like whenever I do that, I bomb. It's so bad. Like it's not worth it.
Yeah. When I started, at 7, I was just so scared. I always did a thing where I would ruffle up my hair. I mean, it's very different for men and women in stand-up, but I was always like, I didn't want people to think I looked good. I was very worried, so I would have to wear the worst clothes I could and like ruffle up my hair on purpose to make it look weird.
That's so funny.
And I did that for like a year, and then I like slowly realized, oh, they don't really. For me, they weren't really paying much attention. That it's like I could.
You were doing like a prince in disguise thing. You're like, oh, I'm like the Phantom of the Opera. I have to make myself ugly so that they'll take me seriously.
Yeah.
I get that though. That's like I've heard honestly a few guys say that where they're like, I don't want them to think I'm like good looking, which is interesting because I kind of thought only girls struggled with it.
And then I realized the audience were like, no, we weren't really worried about that. That was not you far overestimated your own
We can't understand what he's saying. He's too handsome.
Yeah.
Is that what fuels you? Is it like making the audience laugh when you perform? Is that what gives you the drive?
Yeah, I find too a little bit is making me laugh too. Like, cause I'm a big laugher at myself, which some people hate, some people like, but like I just find it so fun, and I love laughing with the audience. I love saying something that I wasn't expecting to say that I start giggling at, and then the audience catches up when I finish the sentence, and now we're all laughing, and it just feels like hanging out with friends, except for I'm allowed to talk the whole time, and that's my favorite part.
That's where the ham comes back in, right?
Exactly. Yeah, very much so.
What's your writing process like for material? I know every comedian kind of has a different process.
Yeah, totally. Whenever I think of something, I try to write it down, especially for TikToks and stuff. Like I have a big running list of just like stupid thoughts or premises. And then some of those get turned into stand-up jokes. And then sometimes I'll go to like a cafe on the weekends and just sit for an hour and take one premise and try to really flesh it out. But I find like most of my jokes that I like the most are random things that I said on stage that were like offhand of like whatever. Because I find it easiest to joke about stuff when you have like an energy of a back and forth. Like that's so much easier than sitting down and being like, I wonder what would be funny.
I love the one where it was like the poop factory exploded with you in it and you got survivor's guilt. And it's you.
That was a last minute one, so I'm glad you liked it.
That was really funny, and I liked how it was like I'm assuming it wasn't real poop. No,
it was cocoa powder.
Yeah,
it was only a little bit of poop.
Sure, just a little.
No, but it was that's from a sketch that I did. It hasn't been released yet. This is the exclusive. I'm starting a sketch series, me and Alex Murdoch, but that's a picture from that one where I'm just supposed to be really dirty. So I'm like covered head to toe in cocoa powder and like leaves. And I just took a screenshot of one of the things and I was like, I have to think of something funny to say because I want to put this in my photo dump.
When you're writing for, is there a difference in writing comedy for stand-up and then the like reels or even just like a funny picture where you're smeared in cocoa powder and you have to come up with a funny caption?
Yeah, very much so. I would say like for internet stuff, a part of it is like, particularly with the photos, I'm like, well, what would I like to see that would make me post it on my story too? Like, would this be like funny enough and short enough to be slightly relatable, but also just kind of crazy where I would want to put it on my story? And then TikToks are a little bit like more forgiving than that, where I'm like, I can talk about anything. And I don't know, I find it like it's more forgiving than a stand-up joke, because stand-up you really have to have like set up punchline and like actually really have something fleshed out. Whereas on TikTok, you can just kind of talk about sort of the ghost of a joke, and like it doesn't really have to make a ton of sense. Like it can be kind of insane. And sometimes I just write thoughts. Like it's just kind of like a thought that's kind of funny, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a joke. And those are all just for TikTok and not really for stand-up or anything.
Which do you prefer, for the internet or stand-up?
I think I prefer stand-up because I love performing live and I love hearing people laugh at stuff. But I will say, like, I've learned to really love posting stuff, because seeing an immediate response and have it be like as large as it is, because you can reach way more people on the internet than you can sometimes with stand up. And I feel like the internet too, it's like given me more opportunities, and I feel like I'm taken more seriously because not only I feel like there are people on the internet who thankfully like what I'm doing, and also you can see like exactly like how much work I put into it and how many times I've posted, which is insane. I'm posting too much, like they need to lock me up. It's yeah, so I like both, but there's nothing that can replace performing live, I think.
By the way, all your stuff is really killer. I really think you're doing a great
Oh,
job.
thank you so much. Love your stuff too, Charlie.
Thank
Very
you, Claire.
funny guy.
But yeah, it's great, like very funny, consistent, short stuff, and it's very impressive because that's really hard to do. Like that's to have that, to just be able to do that every day at a like, okay, this is objectively funny. You're doing it a very good job at that. I really appreciate that. Do you have any big takeaways about yourself or the human condition that you learned through live performances? Yeah, I think it's taught me that I'm a lot less alone than I think I am. Like I feel like I grew up a lot feeling very isolated from my peers and very weird, like kind of like it's so funny to look at it and be like, "Oh, I've got a chip on my shoulder because I was like the least rich kid at rich school." But there is something about loneliness that permeates like with being kind of a weird person. And I think performing live and having it resonate with people and have people just sort of like laugh with me at things that I've been so embarrassed about. It's just sort of like, I don't know, it's helped me recognize a lot of good in the world and that people want to laugh and people want to laugh with you. So I think it's taught me to take things less seriously and to view myself as less of a victim. Like, it's like you have power to say stuff in this world, and the world isn't always like a mean, nasty thing that's trying to hurt you. And then also, I think the world is weirder and wackier than people give it credit for. I find that like some of the stuff I say, people are like, "Oh, I love it," but it's not really like mainstream. But I'm like, you'd be surprised how many people kind of like get some of the stuff that I'm doing and like really also find it funny. And I think like we're all a lot more similar than we are different.
We've all got a silly within us, a little silly.
Exactly. Yeah. We all are secretly wanting to be so silly together.
Yeah. I did notice with stand-up, I really related to that point, especially when it's like you realize you're not any better than anyone, but you're not any worse. So when you tell a crowd, hey, there's an issue that I have, and I can talk about it because I know all of you have this as well, so we're all safe together. And it feels a little bit more of like, okay, I'm going to show you, what I don't like about myself because I know you guys all have that as well, and it can bring people together, which is a nice like unifying thing, especially crowd of strangers all kind of relating. And even if they're not relating to exactly what you say, I feel like laughing at it kind of makes it feel like less of like a scary thing. It's like, oh, like yeah, maybe not everybody does this, but it's silly. Like Jacqueline Blizzard is a huge inspiration for me. I love that girl, and she is always talking about crazy insane shit, and the audience like just eats her up and loves her. And some stuff, it's like stuff that like you would do as a kid, but like you wouldn't tell anybody about it because it's so embarrassing, but it's just like so funny. And I think like even if you haven't done exactly what she describes, like everybody can relate to doing something really, really weird and kind of gross and wanting to keep it a secret.
Yeah, and everyone is open to laughing about it in the moment. All together. What do you want to be remembered by, either in your career as a comedian, as a comic, or just in general in your life?
That's a good question. I think I'd like to be remembered for definitely like, it's hard not to say just being funny. Like that's like, I think the ego. I'd love to be remembered for being kind. I feel like that's something that I really like. I always want to be kinder every day. I find there's always room to improve on just like being more compassionate and patient. But I think I just love also to be remembered for hopefully creating a world where people are less afraid to be themselves. We interview everyone who's living their lives to the fullest. That's the goal of the podcast, and we ask all of our guests this question. Clare Donaher, how would you like to die? See, I knew you were gonna ask this, and I didn't. I thought I would think of something in the moment, but okay. I think I'm going to die in a car accident. But I don't want to. I don't want to, and I'm really scared. But
Why?
I just feel like it's just a gut feeling. I really feel like I will.
Are you a good driver, or are you like a passenger in it, or like?
Well, no, I'm not a good driver, but I do think I'll be in the passenger seat. There's something I don't know what's sick up in the head about me, but I just feel like I'm going to, but I really don't want to. I want to die when I'm like 7. No, that's too young. I want to die when I'm like 100. If I'm not dead by 100, I want someone to drop me out of an airplane into a grave, and then I just want to go splat. But I'm probably gonna die in a car accident.
So 100 out of an airplane.
Splat.
Yeah,
Splat.
Splat. Yeah.
Splat.
big splat.
Oh, that's so funny. But you moved to a city where you can just exist in public transit to just avoid the
Exactly.
cars and the
Yeah, I'm
imminent
cheating
death.
death. I'm cheating death.
Thank you again, Claire, for being on here. We really appreciate your time. You've been a great guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. I had such a great time.